Hey guys, it's Ross going on Space Couch today. I've got a update on Spacex for you, the preliminary results from their investigation to the Falcon explosion. Now, it seems that one of the steel struts that secures the helium tank on the Falcon failed. Strut snapped, helium leaked into the oxygen tank. That's what led to that overpressurization event and the subsequent explosion, all within less than a second. Now, this strut that snapped, failed, whatever it was, supposed to be able to handle 10,000 pounds of force, but it failed at only 2,000, which must be a bit worrying on quality control. Now, this part appeared to be fine before the launch, because obviously they check all the parts, take detailed photos and all of that before it's all closed up. And those struts have been used on all the Falcon flights in the past, so I don't know how many there is per rocket, but could be into the thousands by now. However, given this failure, they're not going to use those struts from that particular supplier anymore, and they're going to implement a much more rigorous audit of their parts from third-party suppliers going forward. That should hopefully cut down on that problem in the future. Something else, though, obviously, the Dragon capsule, it actually survived the explosion. And it could have been saved if it just had the software that would have allowed it to deploy its parachutes for a water land and all the science experiments. They could have been put on the next level. Obviously, the docking node that was in the unpressurized trunk, that was still lost, obviously, because that's unpressurized. That would just get jettisoned during such an escape attempt by the capsule. Now, SpaceX haven't released all this data and information about the cause, or what they believe to be the cause of this explosion. They're expecting to be able to return to flight this year. I mean, they've combed over this data literally with a fine-tooth comb. And this is what they come up with. It's a strut that failed, so hopefully that is not going to lead to a major redesign. They're going to get those struts from another supplier. I don't know if that's a fairly straightforward process and that these struts are all like standardised on rockets, or if every single strut is always significantly different from the previous one. I guess we'll find out in due course. Any sort of major redesign of the Falcon, that would tend to tell you that it's a complicated part to replace. Now, obviously, SpaceX, they're wanting to return to flight this year. They've got a bunch of outstanding missions, obviously, on their manifest. It's like Jason 3, the NOAA satellite, several more CRS missions, of course, and then there's the various tests of things like, say, the Falcon Heavy, which has now been pushed back until next year. Although, I mean, they're still very confident of it and it still does have customers. They just need to concentrate on this for now, I suppose. So fingers crossed for a quick but safe resumption of that flying schedule. As we know, SpaceX are the one who are doing more than most people, anyone, to drive down the cost of rockets and space exploration and to widen that knowledge basis, rather. So anyway, there's an article in Fortune magazine about what this failure means for the space industry, because it seems like they've all had one recently. It made the point that the other main player, other than SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, has got problems of its own. As you know, it's very expensive launching anything on there, although they've got an excellent launch record. So they're trying to cut their costs, the dependence on the Russian rockets, all that sort of thing. No Rose Garden at ULA. And in fact, you know that Vulcan rocket that they say they're going to build with their detachable first stage engines? Lockheed Martin and Boeing are only funding that on a quarter-by-quarter basis. That's no way to design a rocket and fund it. You know, is that every quarter it could be cancelled or significantly changed. I don't know, as you know, there's a lot of problems with that rocket in my mind. This is just yet another one. Also, there's a very big thing you should know about. You cannot just switch rocket providers at the last minute, you know. It just doesn't happen. These launch deals, they're signed years in advance, and most of the costs are paid up front on the dotted line at the time, you know. Plus the other providers, let's say the Russians or Arianespace, they've all got lengthy backlogs, as obviously does ULA and SpaceX. You can't just fit in another launch somewhere. You know, at least not now. Anyway, maybe one day when those rockets are fully reusable, it will be easier to schedule an unscheduled rocket, shall we say, or charter a rocket at very short notice, that sort of thing. So that's where we are with SpaceX. I'm sure they'll continue to move forward as always, having learned the lessons of this crash. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or suggestion for a topic you'd like to see discussed, or why don't you hit that like button.